Coming up on iOS today, Rosemary, Orchard, and I talk about some Safari extensions that you should be using. It's all about Safari extensions on this episode of iOS Today. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is iOS Today with Rosemary Orchard and Mikah Sargent, episode 703, recorded Tuesday, April 30th, 2024, for Thursday, May 16th, 2024. Safari extensions worth downloading. Hello and welcome back to iOS Today, the show where we talk all things iOS, iPadOS, tvOS, watchOS, HomePodOS, visionOS, and all the other OSs that Apple has on offer. These are the operating systems that run on the Apple devices you purchase. And what our job is here on this show, when someone asks me, what is iOS Today? I tell them, well, we are here to help you make the most of your devices. Our job is to talk about settings, features, apps, tips, tricks, all that jazz, so that you know that you are doing everything you possibly can with those wonderful devices you have and hold. I am one of your hosts of the show, Mikah Sargent.
And I am Rosemary Orchard, and really excited that we're going to get to talk about some really handy and fun utilities, Mikah.
Yes. So this is one place that is always exciting to me. Safari extensions in general. I love the idea that an app has an app store of its own, kind of. These are little tools that you can add to the app that you already use. People who use Google Chrome, people who use Firefox, people who use, why can't I think of the name of Windows, its current version? All of these different browsers have extensions that can be added to it, to Edge is the name, Microsoft Edge, to make it even better. And so today we're talking about Safari extensions that either we use or know of people who use or have used that we think are pretty great and that you might consider adding to your own Safari. So without further ado, Rosemary, tell us about your first pick.
Yeah, so my first pick is digital Post-its. So if you ever wished that you could just like stick a Post-it note on a website so that when you came back to the website, you'd see it again and be reminded of the thing that you wanted to know that's useful information when you're on that website. Maybe it's not a to-do item. Maybe this is just how you like to work. Then Browser Note by Dodo Apps is for you. So I'm in Safari on my iPhone, and I've installed Browser Note and I've set it up. So I'm just going to tap on the puzzle piece in the top bottom left-hand corner in my address bar. And then I'm going to tap Browser Note. So I'm on DuckDuckGo and I'm just going to type DuckDuckGo, exclamation marks, lots of exclamation marks. And there's a couple of toggles here. So I've written my note. Now, do I want this note to show on every page on duckduckgo.com or just this page? So if I only want it on this particular URL, so for example, if you only want something to show up when you're in the settings area of a website, then you could limit it to just that URL, or you could have it show up everywhere. And there's also whether or not you want to allow the note to be snoozed. So I'm going to leave these on as defaults. And now my Safari is taking a moment to think about life, but I'll just reload the page. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it will indeed work. And if it doesn't, because it has a little bit of performance anxiety, because, you know, it's live on air, then I'll just open a new tab with DuckDuckGo. And here's my note. That's it. It's really simple. My note was DuckDuckGo with like 5 exclamation marks, and that's what I got. Now, if I view the website, then the note is still there. And I can edit this by tapping on the puzzle piece again and Browser Note, and I can update my note or I can delete my note. And so if I delete my note, then the next time that I visit the page, it won't show up, but it will just load on every page for that. And if I didn't have snoozing enabled, then I'd have to delete the note to be able to continue. It's very simple. It is just kind of a virtual Post-it that goes on every single website. But I love Browser Note. It's $1.99 from the App Store, and honestly, it makes my life a lot easier. Inside of the Browser Note app itself, there's not a huge amount going on. There's a little video and some instructions showing you how to install and how to use it. And then there are some settings options. So if you snooze a note, how long does it snooze for? What is the font size of your notes? And then there's some links to get in touch with the developers, to share it, rate it on the App Store, and to get some more information about it. So it's created by Ben, Creative Dodo Apps. And I love the fact that there's a little picture of him in here. And I also love the fact that this app has got a green background, but Ben has a purple background in his picture. So clearly he's been listening to me and Mikah on iOS today because he's incorporating our favorite colors. But Browser Note is an excellent little utility for Safari, which I'd highly recommend.
I love this because occasionally you'll come across websites that you have to use. I'm thinking of people who have to use content management systems or who have like a web portal for their work or something like that. And there will be little things that you have to do to make the page actually work or to make the form actually submit. And forgetting that because you only have to log in once every 6 months or something is annoying. So having a little Post-it tied to that page and going, okay, remember that you have to hit cancel twice before you hit submit or else it won't go through would be very, very handy. And then, of course, you might have a place to store, oh, don't forget that on, you're coming to this page on a Tuesday, come back to the page on a Wednesday because they always have a flash sale on Wednesdays or something like that. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah. Or if you get like an offer code for a website, like so that you can create a note like in Browser Note to give you like to remind you that you have a discount code when you come back in a couple of hours because, you're busy right now and you don't want to go through with it. But it was one of those, they popped up an offer code when you visited the website. So you want to save it, things like that. All of that sort of thing. It's pretty useful in my opinion.
Very cool. That is Browser Note, again, available for $1.99.
And it's on Mac, iPhone, and iPad once you've got it. So it's on all the places.
Nice. The extension I want to talk about, also available across the suite. You can get it for the Mac, for your iPhone, for your iPad. It's a little extension called Keyword Search, available for 99 cents in the App Store and easily worth the cost. Keyword Search basically lets you do searches of different websites with a keyword phrase. So normally when you type into the status bar or the URL bar or whatever you want to call it in your browser, it is going to use your default search engine to do a search for that thing. But what if I want to look on Amazon for an item and I don't want to open up the Amazon app to do it? What if I just want to do everything in Safari? Well, that's where keyword search comes into play because by default, keyword search works with a number of sites. Amazon, the DuckDuckGo, eBay, GitHub, Google Images, etc. So if I wanted to do a search on Amazon, I would type ;A and then hit space and then type in whatever search query I had. What's great about keyword search is that keyword search also has the ability to create custom searches. So I've actually set this up so that when I'm looking for something, say, for example, from Apple, I am able to find that item. So I type in ;ASUP, that stands for Apple support. And then I can type in, let's go with, contact verification. And I will tap go. And this immediately searches the Apple support documentation. I also have it set up so that I can use the Twit functionality. I can actually search across Twit's website using the built-in search feature. And so I type in ;TW, I hit space and I type something in, and that will use Twit's own search functionality. This is great if you are regularly doing searches and you want to just have it all happen right there in the search bar. Now, Safari does include a built-in feature for this, but it is not as robust, and I feel it is not as consistent as this third-party search extension. Keyword search has worked for me for a long time. The fact that I can create those custom searches on different sites. I also have one set up for the Twit Google Drive. So it goes as far as to know I'm looking in a particular Google Drive for the phrase that I type in. And I don't actually have to go to drive.google.com first and then make sure I have switched to the right account and then do this and then do that. No, it all happens right there in the bar for Safari. Keyword search, and it syncs all of those settings across your different devices. So those same keywords will sync among them. It's fantastic. All right. What is next, Rosemary?
Well, next is a utility that maybe it's not for everybody. I mean, none of these extensions are necessarily for everybody, but this could just be useful for people who have certain websites that they go to visit. And perhaps, you always end up on the IKEA US website when you want to be on the IKEA Canada website, or vice versa. There's a different version of Reddit that you prefer to use, or whenever you open Twitter.com, you want to be redirected to a particular page on X.com, for example. So redirect web for Safari is exactly that. It will allow you to create redirect rules, which will then apply to your web experience. Very exciting. So if you go to create a new rule, it'll walk you through the process, and it does sound a little bit scary. So there's redirect from, and then you've got different options like a regular expression versus a wildcard. So you could just put like a star at the end to have, everything from a particular point in the URL onwards captured, and then redirect to, and then there's some other things with capture group processing, excluded URLs, etc. So I have an example here, which I'm using a regular expression for this, and we're not going to go into the details on what a regular expression is, but when you first start the app, it will come with several example rules that you can play with to learn how this works. But I am redirecting anything from www.reddit.com to old.reddit.com. because I prefer the old Reddit user interface on my device. And what I really love about this is I can also share this rule. So if I wanted to just share that and then send it to Mikah, then I could do. Some other great options here are if you've created a redirect and you don't want to use it for a bit, you can just disable it. So instead of deleting it, which you can do by using the swipe, you can actually just turn it off and then turn it back on again. You can select rules to share or duplicate or delete. And then there are some other settings as well, like syncing rules via iCloud, which is something that I am doing, and a little guide on how to prepare the extension so that you can set that up to be used. But that means that if I were to open Safari, and I'm just going to quickly open a new tab here, and I'm going to type in www.reddit.com, then down in the little URL bar at the bottom, yep, it says old.reddit.com. Yep, that's it. It's very simple, but you know what? It works for me, and it makes me happy that I don't have to worry about, finding all of those weird, like little bits in URLs that I then need to go and change later to get rid of something because it's, I'm on the IKEA Turkey website again. How did that happen? I've cleared my cache. I've changed my settings, but, I can add a little redirect and just fix it by replacing, the little part of the URL that refers to Turkey with en-gb.
Yeah, this is great because I can't remember which site it is, but there's one site where it always takes me to the UK version. And I'm going to have to get this so that I can have it stop doing that because that is silly. The next one that I want to talk about is controversial to some, but it is an important app that I think is well worth checking out. And that is an app called 1Blocker. 1Blocker is free with an in-app purchase that gives you the ability to create kind of custom blocking options. 1Blocker is it's technically a content filter or content blocker. And this is something that Apple introduced many moons ago at this point, but works a little differently from the content or the ad blockers of days past, because it used to be that ad blockers would simply find different content on a page and then hide that content from your view. So when you went to a web page, that stuff would still load, but you just couldn't see it. And so it meant that the ads were not bothering you, but they were still there. Content blockers, on the other hand, actually find different stuff that you were saying you don't want to see and keeping it from loading on the page in the first place. So it's not even pulling the query for that content and having it pop up because you've said, I don't want this to load when I visit the page. So content blocking versus what we once called ad blocking are two different things. And content blocking in particular is something that can speed up all sorts of web pages by a great margin because it stops the loading of a lot of stuff that you don't really want to see in the first place. 1Blocker I have found to be a fantastic Safari-specific content blocking system. On many other services, we've talked about it on a number of shows. We, being Leo Laporte and myself, as well as other people in the community, use, and now I'm forgetting what it's called. Let's see, manage extension, uBlock Origin. And so that's the common one that I use in Chrome and in Firefox. But when it comes to Safari, 1Blocker is where it's at for me. And it works very well and has worked for some time. One thing that I'll mention too, it's a feature that I don't have turned on because it does give me problems with some apps. But if you are super, 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 super protective about your privacy, 1Blocker features a new functionality that is what they call, I think, a firewall for apps. And what it does is it installs a content filter in your VPN settings on your iPhone, and it blocks a lot of the tracking and ads and other things that pop up, not just in Safari, but in the actual apps that you use. Now, again, I found that reduces functionality in many an app, so I don't use that feature, but it might be something that you would be interested in, those of you out there. And that is included as part of that in-app purchase. So you can have that added functionality of an app firewall to keep the different sites that kind of look at when their analytics and things like that, but also ads that pop up in different apps. So again, that's 1Blocker, available for free with in-app purchase in the App Store and works across devices, iOS, iPadOS, and macOS. What's next on your list, Rosemary?
So next on my list is something very nerdy, but that's okay because we do like very nerdy at times here on the show. And specifically what I am going to suggest is something that may remind people of eras of the internet gone by. User scripts. Some people might remember Grease Monkey or Tamper Monkey as scripts or browser add-ons that you could install, and then there would be little bits of JavaScript that would just do magic things on websites for you. And because of this, I have, been using this sort of thing for a really long time, and I always find it a little bit sad when, I have something that my life could be made much easier by a script that I could either create myself because I'm that sort of nerd, or there's a whole bunch of scripts out there on the web that you can just download to use straight away. And so user scripts, you set it up. It is important, by the way, folks, to follow the instructions. Make sure that you do allow this on every website. Same with Browser Note, same with Redirect Web, same with your keyword search and 1Blocker. In fact, all of the apps that we're going to talk about today, you want to make sure that you use your Safari settings correctly. And then you need to set a directory to put the scripts in, okay? Because the scripts themselves are files. And I'm just going to show folks, if you pop into settings, in the settings app and then into Safari, okay, then if you scroll down a little bit, there's a general block and extensions is in there, and then you can scroll down and look for whichever extension it is that you're looking for, and then you'll see some options like, do you want to allow this extension in different profiles if you've got different Safari profiles? If you don't, that won't show up there. Do you want to allow this in private browsing mode? Yes or no? And then there's permissions at the bottom, and if it needs or wants permission to access all websites, then you can go down here and set that to allow or ask or deny, whatever works for you. So I now have hopefully 2 scripts installed. So I'm just going to pop into the Files app just to show folks. So I created a folder, in iCloud Drive with these 2 scripts inside of them. And I will just select both of those and make sure that they are downloaded to my device just to make sure. So now I have some little user scripts on my device, which I can see the image downloader works on this website. The other one only works on a very particular website. And unfortunately, there are no websites. There are no images here. But if I went to, say, I can't spell, .tv/iOS, which is a handy little short URL for the iOS Today segment, then if I pop into user scripts, then I can see image downloader is right there, and it will allow me to download all the images. Now, I've got some other things that are running around there, so it's not showing everything. But if I went to omni-automation.com, which OmniFocus is my preferred task manager of choice, and they have a really cool scripting thing. And I sometimes make my own scripts, but I got a little bit fed up of filling out the plugin generator form every time. And so here on the page, so I've just loaded the page, and it's automatically filled in these 2 form fields for me, because that's what I created a tiny little user script to do. It's about 10 lines of code, if that. So you don't have to know how to code. There are a whole bunch of websites out there for user scripts, and the user scripts application itself is on GitHub. So that means that anybody who's there going, ooh, it could just be running code on my device and doing stuff, like, yes, technically it can. You can go and look at it. And even if you don't know how to read all of that, other people are looking at it and reading all of it, and they have some really great help documentation as well. So yeah, this is quite handy for, there's some stuff on the Amazon returns page every time that I need to get rid of before I print it, because otherwise it prints over 2 pages instead of 1 page, which is unnecessary and wasting paper. And I don't like wasting paper. So I have a little script that just deletes some little bits from the page and then opens the print dialog for me. And that makes my life a lot easier. So well worth looking into if there's maybe a user script out there that you would like, or if you just want to relive the early 2000s and have a browse on Tamper Monkey or Fast Monkey or Grease Monkey sites, then they have a whole bunch of scripts up there for you to have a look at as well.
Beautiful. The next choice here is one that I know among nerds can be, again, a little bit controversial. Some nerds may not want to use this because of the privacy implications. However, I know of a lot of people who do use this and end up saving a heck of a lot of money because they use this. One of those people being our own CEO, Lisa, who has talked a lot about using this extension to save loads of money. So some folks really do like this, and if you're aware of the trade-off of your browser activity, particularly when it comes to buying things being available, this may be something that you find worth it. A little app called PayPal, or I should say a little extension called PayPal Honey. What can you do with PayPal Honey?
Well, if you're in the US, and this is a little important thing to note, you do need to be in the US to use this, then PayPal Honey will find coupons and deals for you for websites as you shop, and allow you to automatically activate them or give them to you so that you can copy them and paste them. And if you are not in the US, but this sounds really good to you, then have a look at PayPal Honey in the App Store. You don't have to download it and install it. But if you're not in the US, have a look at the bottom in the suggested other apps, because there will very likely be one for your country or region there that you can find that will do the same sort of thing. So it's usually under the you might also like section. But yeah, it will look for coupons on about 4,000 or over 4,000 websites, I believe, and can help you save some cash, which can definitely be very nice and greatly appreciated, unlike when you have to Google for a voucher code for insert website here. And then you get taken to a website, which you tap on the thing and it opens a pop-up and it opens another tab. And then 16 pages later, you've forgotten what it is that you were trying to do because you were trying to save $2 on a purchase. So yeah, I have to say, when I have used similar things to PayPal Honey in the past, I have greatly appreciated the savings it gets me for the very small amount of effort that it requires on my part. And they estimate that people will save an average of $126 a year by using this extension. So worth checking out if you're in the US, or an alternative if you are not.
And that is, again, PayPal Honey, available for free. Now, the next two apps, Rosemary, you told me about these apps, and I keep saying apps, extensions, which are kind of apps. These extensions, I can't live without. I love these two extensions. There's Vinegar and there's Baking Soda, which, by the way, folks, little pro tip, little note. So when you have vinegar, and vinegar is an acid, and so its pH is lower. And when you have baking soda is I shouldn't say it's a base, it is basic, and so its pH is higher. And when you take vinegar and baking soda and you put them together, yes, it bubbles at first, and so some people think that it's like a great cleaning option to use vinegar and baking soda. The reaction can be helpful in particular locations, particularly in sinks. But what you're doing when you mix vinegar and baking soda, and the reason that reaction takes place is because you are bringing the pH into balance, and it basically turns into, well, I shouldn't say it basically turns into, it doesn't acidically or basically turn into, it neutralizes the pH. So mixing vinegar and baking soda together and then using that as a cleaning solution, you're pretty much using water. So I've seen people do that, and you are undoing any ability that these two substances have on their own to actually help you clean, because one as a base has its own cleaning ability. One as an acid has its own cleaning ability. So outside of places where you need to use that bubbling reaction to actually do something, again, like drains in a sink, it's not worth it to ahead of time mix vinegar and baking soda together and then spray that or that on something, because it's akin to just using water, which has almost a neutral pH. Anyway, vinegar and baking soda extensions. I don't know why I had to go on that rant, but I did. Tell us about them.
Well, I mean, you make a good point, Mikah. And also, just FYI for folks, vinegar and bleach, chlorine gas, like you don't want to do that. And don't assume that baking soda will neutralize it. Just like keep yourself safe out there. And if you know a relative who's very into home cleaning hacks and recipes, just remind them of that little fact, maybe, just to make sure we don't want anybody getting hurt, especially if you're a listener or a friend of a listener or an acquaintance of a listener of this show. So baking soda and vinegar are all about cleaning up videos on the web for you. So between them, they cover the vast majority of websites out there. So one of them is specifically for YouTube, and the other one is for not YouTube. So if you have a YouTube embed in a page, so for example, if there is a video that is embedded in a website, and you would like to just be able to use the native iOS controls instead of the YouTube controls for all of these things, then you can actually just do that. So I am just having a quick think, and I'm just going to search here. I've got Safari open on my iPhone, and I've opened the YouTube website, and I'm just going to search for Mark Rober Squirrel, because Mark Rober has made a series of squirrel assault courses, or obstacle courses, maybe the better way of phrasing it. But when I open this, ta-da, this YouTube looks a little different. I am on the website. I do have the app installed, but I tend not to use it all that much. But I have the ability to do normal picture-in-picture things. Yeah, without paying for YouTube Premium, because I'm doing it through Safari, because thanks, baking soda and vinegar. I have my standard playback controls. I can handle things like, the playback speed. I can adjust the volume or mute it or unmute it. My standard volume buttons will do things. I can make it full screen with the tap of a button. And on top of this, for baking soda and vinegar, they do have some settings options, which you can enable to stop autoplay. It doesn't stop all autoplay. It does say stop most autoplay, but these two between them will basically just make your video experience around the web a heck of a lot better. Because between them, why is vinegar extract not always allowed on every website? I must have changed something there. But there we go. You can also, so vinegar is the one for YouTube. There's also the option to autoplay your next video and show toolbars and things like that, all of which you may or may not want. And honestly, if you're going to watch a video, I recommend you use baking soda and vinegar. They are $1.99 each, or they are part of a little bundle available on the App Store as well. But they will clean up so much video around the internet and just make your experience with them uniform and better. Because if a video is playing and you want to, pause it or whatever, and say you're wearing AirPods, you cannot guarantee that every website is going to correctly understand that the pause button on your AirPods, which sends a pause through to your iPod or your iPhone or your iPad, is actually going to get sent to a video player. But when you're using baking soda and vinegar, it will.
And last but not least, another Rosemary hit. It's Opener, which I think is... This is a question that I get a lot, and it's so complicated to explain and answer precisely for the people who need to know what to do. So the fact that there's an extension out there that can help with this is super cool. Tell us what Opener does.
Yeah, so Opener, I'm cheating a little. It's not actually a Safari extension. But when you open, say, an Instagram link, and it opens the Instagram app, and that's great when you want that to happen, and not great when you don't want that to happen, then this is just something that, is usually, in, for example, Instagram's case, handled pretty well by the Instagram website. Not every website does this perfectly, and sometimes you want some options to handle things a little bit differently. And this is where Opener comes in. So from Safari, and I'm just going to open Safari here. If I tap on the share extension for this URL, and then I tap on Opener, then it will give me some options. Now, because this is just .go.com, it's only giving me the option to open it in Safari. And if I expand that, I can open it in the Safari app, because in my Opener settings specifically, I've said, hey, I want like a pop-up overlay Safari instead of a bazillion new tabs in Safari. You could also choose to open it in Firefox or Chrome or iCab. And then there are some more browsers that you can find and download. And also here, when I tap on that, it gives me the option to prefer this Safari app instead of the in-app Safari. And that's all fine and dandy. But say, for example, I was on the Kickstarter website, which I happen to have a tab right here. And I tap on Share and I tap on Opener. Then I can see, hey, open that project in Kickstarter. And if I tap on that, ta-da, it will open that project inside of Kickstarter for me. So I'm now in the Kickstarter app where I'm already signed in, so I don't have to worry about, whether or not I'm correctly authenticated there. Now, some websites will have like this little banner up here at the top, which is open in the Kickstarter app, which you can tap on. Again, it should work. But not every website has that. But then there are some other websites as well. So, for example, if I were to go to snailedit.social/@Rosemary, then this is a Mastodon instance. Specifically, this is my profile on the Mastodon instance that I actually am one of the people behind and run. But this hasn't opened in any Mastodon app because Mastodon's got billions of different websites. So by tapping on the share and then opener, I can actually see, hey, open it in Ivory, please. And ta-da, my profile has now opened in Ivory.
Nice.
And this can be very handy, especially if you've got alternative apps for lots of things. Or one of the things that I often use this for is if I'm in like a shopping app and I want to like, check the actual website for something. Like, maybe the app isn't showing me all the details, and I know that if I look on the website, then I'll see all the information that I want, and I know where to find the information. Then I will often share from the app and use Opener to tap on Safari, because then I get a little in-app Safari instead of an extra tab in Safari to see it. So yeah, Opener is $1.99. I have had this app for so long, it may as well have been free because I've had it basically since the app released. It's a very clever app that the developers spent a lot of time working on. You should be aware, folks, there is an app called Opener, which is a Safari extension, which doesn't work quite the same way. It will do different things, like it can redirect Google Maps links to like Apple Maps or Waze and things like that, which is great if you want that. But Opener, the original, is my preferred app for this sort of thing.
Beautiful. Again, available in the App Store for $1.99, and it looks kind of like the icon is tealish, and it looks like a pill kind of turned sideways or a slider turned sideways.
It's two links, I believe, but yes,
two links together.
Opener?
Yeah, it's kind of a can opener. Like they've moved the links, like they got a bit chunky in places.
I see.
It's a can opener or a bottle opener, perhaps.
I see now. Okay. Yeah. It also kind of looks like a zipper pull. Anyway, I can hear the music. It's time for Shortcuts Corner. Welcome to Shortcuts Corner, the part of the show where you write in with your shortcuts, and Rosemary Orchard, our shortcuts expert, provides a response. This Shortcuts Corner request comes in from Doug, who writes, I have shortcuts created to switch watch faces. If my phone is unlocked and I say SIRI, Snoopy, to my watch, it will switch without issue. However, if my iPhone is locked, it requires me to confirm on my watch. I have checked all my settings under privacy, etc., and can't see anything is set wrong. Any ideas here? And also, Doug has shared their pet tax, which is their cat Linux, who is giving tech advice. So we will see the pet tax momentarily while we ponder about being able to switch watch faces without first needing to confirm while the phone is locked. Sounds like a security thing. I don't know if this is going to be doable, but while we ponder that, let's take a look at the pet tax of Linux providing tech advice.
She wants to know, can I run Microsoft Word on my Chromebook? Thanks for the question, Heather. Microsoft offers a completely free web-based version of Office called Office Online, complete with Word Online, Excel Online, and PowerPoint Online. Microsoft even makes these apps available in the Chrome Web Store.
What we have
I hope this
is
answers your question.
A black and white cat that is clearly there's been a sort of mouth added to it, and it's talking. It's not actually obviously the cat's real mouth moving. It is a photo, but an adorable little cat with, what is that, like a star or a heart, I guess, on their forehead there. So thank you, Linux, for your advice. And also thank you, Doug, for paying the pet tax. It is not at all required, but we love it whenever you do. Anyway, tell us about what we can do, what Doug can do here, Rosemary.
Yeah, so this is something where I had a couple of ideas that immediately popped into my head. And so I went about testing them, as you do. So to start with, the first thing I had to do was create a shortcut. Now, I didn't create a Snoopy shortcut, I'm afraid. I created fire and water because I have a nice fire and water watch face on my Apple Watch, which I am not using right now. So just full disclosure, here is my current watch face. For anybody watching, it's the kaleidoscope one, which I set up specially just for this. And so my shortcut uses one singular action, which I'm guessing Doug's shortcut does as well: set active watch face to fire and water. And then, very important, I tap the little arrow after choosing the watch face, and I turned off show when run. Because if it has to pop something up and like show it to you, that's definitely going to become part of a problem. So now I'm just going to lock my iPhone, which unfortunately does not show immediately on screen, but there we go. And then I will use the magic words, fire and water. Great. Well, because I said magic words first, it did not work. But I will just run this shortcut manually so that we can see that the shortcut does indeed, ta-da, there we go. If I tap on the screen a few times, then it should pop up. I swear it is fire and water. You can just only see the hands, basically, if you're watching the video. So for me, this ran when I tried using it with Siri looked earlier when I wasn't talking on a podcast at the same time. And there are some more privacy settings that you might not be aware of, Doug, which is quite important. So to start with, there are under the settings app. So if we just open the settings app and then we go down to the section where shortcuts is, which is below the measure app for some reason. Now there's some options here for iCloud sharing, iCloud sync, private sharing, and then there's also some other advanced options, which you don't need for this, but I do have those enabled just in case you still run into this problem. But back in shortcuts, inside my shortcut that I've called fire and water, if I tap on the eye at the bottom, okay, so there's an eye and a bubble in the bottom in the middle. If you tap on that, then there's a couple of things. First of all, you can show it on your Apple Watch, which you may want to do so that you could run this through Siri on your Apple Watch. So you can just talk to your Apple Watch and say Snoopy and then get your Snoopy face. But then there's another tab here called privacy. So first of all, you need to allow the shortcut to access the watch. And also you need to allow running when locked. And these should both be here. Now, if they are not here, then I recommend you tap on the reset privacy button and then try running your shortcut again. And it should pop up and populate all of these things for you. And then you can enable or disable as needed. The setup tab, for anybody curious, it's import questions. So for people like me who make a shortcut that I share with other people, if you've ever imported one of my shortcuts, you've tapped on one of the links that we include in the show notes, and it's popped up as you import the shortcut and asked you, like which friend do you want to send a message to? An example for a few weeks ago. That's because I used import questions. So you don't need to worry about that. But these privacy settings right here are the important ones, because if you have allow running when locked enabled, then that should work. And also don't forget to expand the action. If you've got multiple actions in your shortcut, expand every action and look for those sneaky little show when runs and turn those off, because that will often end up causing a problem with shortcuts when you're trying to run them through Siri when your device is locked, because it wants to pop something up on screen, but it can't because your device is locked, so it can't show you a thing. And also it will mean that it can't automatically continue until you've confirmed it. Now, if after tapping on the info bubble and going to the privacy tab and doing a reset on privacy, you are still not seeing this option to allow running when locked, Doug, that is possible. It may happen. I've had this happen on just a few shortcuts over the years, because I've had some shortcuts that have been around for a really long time. If that is the case, I'm going to recommend that you go ahead, you tap down on your shortcut, you tap on the three dots or you tap and hold on it, and it should give you the option to delete your shortcut. So delete your shortcut. Yes, confirm that you want to delete it and create it again. It's only one action. So it shouldn't take you too long to create again. So watch, and then we're going to search for set watch face. There it is. And we're going to select a watch face. And this time, I guess I'll use activity digital. Make sure to turn off that show when run. And then privacy. By default, this is a brand new shortcut that I've just created. The default privacy is allow the shortcut to access the watch and allow running when locked. And if you want it to be available on your Apple Watch, then you probably want to toggle on under the details, show on Apple Watch, and then just give it a name. So I'll call this activity digital. Whoops. Donk. And done. Then I can lock my phone. And then I have to partially wake up my phone screen to see this. Activity digital. This is the problem with just naming shortcuts the same name as the actual watch face. They're very utilitarian, so Siri got a bit confused with not knowing what I wanted it to do. But if I called this something like activity digital watch face, then that would work. And then ta-da, on my watch, I have my Activity Digital face. So yes, I think that you need to try the info bubble at the bottom, Doug, and reset those settings if allow when running is not there. And if not, try creating a brand new shortcut to do the same thing. And fingers crossed, that will solve your problem for you.
Nice. Yes, I'm glad that there is a way to make an adjustment there because I thought, yeah, surely there is. So it's good to know. And Doug, thanks again for paying that pet tax, which folks, again, you don't have to pay. We just love it when you do. If you have Shortcuts Corner requests, questions, comments, concerns, episode topic ideas, you can send those to iostoday@twit.tv. If you are members of the club, we also have a little it's a little discussion board, I guess you could call it, within the iOS Today section. And within there, you will find an opportunity to suggest some topics for consideration. So consider doing that. To join Club Twit, you can head to twit.tv/clubtwit. And for $7 a month, you can join the club. When you do, you will gain access to some pretty cool things. First and foremost, every single Twit show with no ads, just the content. You also gain access to the Twit Plus bonus feed that has extra content you won't find anywhere else, behind the scenes, before the show, after the show. Special Club Twit events get published there. And access to the members-only Discord server. The one that I just mentioned, it's a fun place to go to hang out with your fellow Club Twit members and also those of us here at Twit. And also, if that's not enough, well, that's okay because we've got more. We also offer some Club Twit shows, including this, iOS Today, the video version of this show, and the video version of the other Club Twit shows, including the Untitled Linux show, Hands on Mac, etc., are only available to those of you who are members of Club Twit. So again, please join the club. Have some fun. Twit.tv/clubtwit, $7 a month. With that, I think it's time to ask Rosemary Orchard, if folks want to follow you online and check out all the great work you're doing, where should they go to do that?
Well, the best place to go is to my website at rosemaryorchard.com, which has got links to all the social media, including ones that I don't necessarily post on, but I lurk on, and podcasts, books, apps, etc. that I'm involved in. And you can also find me in the Club Twit Discord, where I will be hanging out in the chat during our recording sessions. Mario just asked me just now, what headphones am I wearing, which you can ask if you're part of the Club Twit Discord. And the answer is Blue AirPods Max for anybody who's curious. Other than that, I'm lurking in the iOS Today discussion area for after the show to get all that feedback and any topic ideas and suggestions that folks have. What about you, Mikah?
You can find me online at Mikah Sargent on many a social media network, or you can head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I'm most active online. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. We always appreciate the support. We always appreciate the questions and everything else that you send our way. And we will catch you again next week for another episode of iOS Today. Bye-bye.